17 people, including 2 pilots, have been killed after Air India Express flight from Dubai to Kozhikode crash landed. India today was the first national channel to reach ground zero. The wreckage of the plane is still lying on the landing strip of Kozhikode Airport. The incident happened when flight AXB 1344 with over 190 passengers, including crew on board, skidded off the runway at Kozhikode's Karipur Airport. The aircraft fell into 30 meters down into valley, forcing its fuselage to split into two. All the injured have been rescued from the crash site after hours of long relief and rescue operation. The cause of the incident is learned to be low visibility due to torrential rains coupled with tabletop runway at Karipur Airport. Prime Minister Modi has spoken to Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, assured all the help and prayed for the speedy recovery of injured. Gopi is now joining us live, getting us the latest. Gopi, if I could ask your camera person to pan and show us the aircraft and the state in which it is right now. I believe it is not 2 parts but split into 3 parts. And from what you're picking up, what has been the reason for this particular crash is something you were telling our viewers before we slipped into that break. So I'm going to throw straight across to you to complete that point.
Well, Cheti, this Karipur International Airport is actually considered as one of the trickiest airports in South India, basically because of the way it has been positioned or designed. So, as you can now see the image of the aircraft, which is lying at least some 50 to 60 meters downstream from the actual area where we have the runway. So, from whatever information that we are gathering at the moment, we have just managed to trace the whole flight path of this Air India Express flight IX 1344 from Dubai to Calicut. So the actual time of arrival was around 7:30 local time here in Calicut. So around that time, the pilot first made an attempt to land on the runway, and after that he could not do that. So he actually went around. That is actually a normal maneuver when the climate and the local conditions are not too favorable. The pilots may attempt one or two. The pilots may make 1 or 2 attempts to land. They might just keep on circling around the airport or keep on circling around the runway just to ensure that the situation improves. And after that, he made a second attempt, and according to the data that we have at the moment, the flight has actually touched the runway. And after it touched the runway, it seems the pilot managed to did not really manage to keep the aircraft under control. Now remember, it's been raining very heavily in Kerala, mostly in northern Kerala over the last 3-4 days, and even at this particular time that is being mentioned, that is 7:44 p.m., it was raining heavily. It was pouring down in most parts of this area. So that, we believe, could be one reason which made landing even more difficult, because even on normal circumstances, only experienced pilots or captains are allowed to handle the landings on tabletop runways, very similar to what we have at Mangalore Airport. So combining the tabletop runways crisis or the risk with the heavy rains is what we believe could have caused this damage, and it actually overshot the runway. It just crossed another 200 meters, which is actually considered as a dead area, because there will not be any tarmac over there. It will just be mud, which is actually be used as an additional safety area, because most of the aircraft, even if it overshoots the runway, it will just go out of the tarmac and it will get stuck in the mud. But unfortunately here, that did not happen, and the crucial element will be to understand whether the landing gears were working properly. So this actually looks like the aircraft that overshot the runway, that came all the way across to this very edge, and from there it just came falling down. It just slided down is what we can see here, because all across that way we can actually see a small trail. There are some debris which are on either side, even on top, and also all the way when it's coming down we can see some debris. So it's not like it has fallen, but it has actually just flown down through that gradient, and that is how the aircraft has reached over here. And it could be because of the impact of that particular fall or this slide. The aircraft has split into 3, because most of the impact was actually on the front end and on the rear end, and that is why the cockpit was completely damaged. I could actually see last night the cockpit was actually in a very miserable condition. Even the seats were dislocated, even the equipments were damaged, and the cockpit was in quite a bad shape. So similarly, there has been a huge impact on the tail end, and that is why it has broken apart from the rest of the fuselage.
If you could also give us a word about the two pilots who've lost their lives, unfortunately, and of course, they tried to save as many lives as possible as well, but unfortunately couldn't make it on their own.
Well, indeed, Jyoti, because actually this is being regarded as a really heroic effort. We have the examples of Mangalore International Airport where a similar accident happened when the flight skidded off the runway. It just crashed into a similar valley and it caught fire and exploded. That is what actually caused most of the damage as in terms of the number of casualties. But when you look at the situation here in Karipur Airport or this particular accident, though the flight was full, it had 190 people, including the captain, crew and passengers on board. The death toll at the moment remains little under 20. So that actually tells a lot about the kind of effort the pilot and the co-pilot has taken to ensure the passengers were safe, or they could save the life of maximum number of passengers. So we were actually speaking to some of the aviation experts to try and understand, try and get a better sense of what could have happened, and we were compiling their analysis with what we have picked up from the locals. So the locals were the first to reach over here to carry out the rescue and take these people to the hospital, and all of them were telling us that because there wasn't any fire or smoke, they could actually get into the aircraft and pull these people out without any hesitation. Usually what we see during an accident or an air crash is that once it crashes, it very easily catches fire, and then it might just explode, which will actually cause more damage. In this case, that has not happened. So the experts are suggesting that implies the one reason that the flight has not exploded could be because of the fact that the captain must have switched off the engine, because if the engines keep on running, then the fuel will be pumped into the engine, and during that time when there is an accident happening, then obviously there is a possibility of fuel leakage, and from the sparks it's very easy to catch fire. Now the aviation experts are assessing that the reason it did not catch fire is because the pilots must have understood the seriousness of the situation. They must have actually switched off the engine, and that actually ensured that the flight did not really catch fire.
Absolutely. Stay with us, Gopi. Gopi's getting us up to speed with the very latest. India Today is the first national channel on ground, getting us all the details. Gopi, I'm going to keep coming back to you on the helpline numbers, on a little about the pilots as well, on how many are injured, the number of casualties, all of that in just about a bit. But for our viewers, 17 passengers, including 2 pilots, were amongst the 190 people on board Kozhikode-bound Air India flight from Dubai, and they've lost their lives. Here is what unfolded last evening.
A tragic day for Kerala turned worse. Air India flight AX B1344 coming from Dubai with over 190 passengers, including crew on board, skid off the runway at Kozhikode's Karipur airport moments after landing. The aircraft fell 30 meters down from the tabletop runway. The force split the plane into 2.
It's actually the cockpit of this aircraft which came falling down, which actually dropped from the runway, which actually came down at least 30 meters down into the valley. And you can see this particular cockpit over here. This has actually smashed into the wall. This has actually smashed into the wall of that particular airport. This is actually the outer wall of the airport, and as you can see now inside, that is actually the cockpit where the CISF officials are just trying to recover some important data. So this is quite a surreal image, and I hope you can see inside the remaining portion of that aircraft, because the aircraft unfortunately broke into 2 pieces.
Relief operations quickly followed to help the injured. Soon, over 170 passengers were evacuated.
NDRF and a lot of local volunteers along with the Kerala police carrying out this rescue operation around you amidst that pouring rain? I'm presuming it's still raining.
Yes, Rajiv, it's been pouring down heavily since the last 3 days in northern Kerala. And we were actually following those rains, and that is how we managed to reach here. And unfortunately, this tragedy has happened over here. And the first to reach in the spot was actually the local residents. And this airport is actually located very close to the residential area, which actually acted as a huge blessing for the people who were actually trapped inside the aircraft. And because the aircraft broke the barriers of this particular airport, people could easily get inside and try and rescue maximum people. And it was actually the local volunteers who first initiated the action. And after that, the local police and the fire force has arrived. Now they're being assisted by the CISF.
Both pilots were killed in the mishap.
Many people are seriously injured, that's what I learned, and some people have minor injuries. And anyway, it's very lucky that the plane didn't catch fire. I think that's very, very providential. So all the people, I'm told, have been rescued and they've been taken to Calicut Medical College, and there are many, many hospitals in Calicut which are very, very good.
The initial assessment is that the pilot lost control, with heavy rains reducing the visibility. Reports suggest the aircraft missed the approach the first time and overshot during the second try. Once rescue efforts are over, the next step would be to extract the black boxes to know what exactly happened during the crucial moments before the crash. With Gopi Krishnan Unitan in Kozhikode, Bureau Report, India Today.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.